This video is brought to you by SPORLAN, quality, integrity, and tradition. All right, it is that time everybody's been asking forever, and I'm finally gonna do it. I'm gonna show you guys my van, but in all fairness, the only way I think it fair is if I show you before I clean it, okay? My van's a mess. I'm a technician. I'm not always perfect. I try to clean it after every job, but sometimes you just get busy, okay? So, somewhat still organized and everything, but we're gonna clean this up, and I'll show you guys all the cool stuff about it. All right, it's kind of cleaned up a bit. Now, I purposely left my cart and everything in there. We'll pull it out and then we'll go through the van, but I want you guys to see, this is my typical operation. Usually have a bucket in there too with just some miscellaneous parts. But this is the typical organization of my van. We'll come on over to the other side. You know, nothing too crazy. Again, it's not always looking like this. Normally it's a bit messier, kind of like when I opened up the first clip of the thing. But you guys can kind of see my typical orientation, and then I'll take you up into the front of the van. So I've been in this van for a couple months now. Just switched over, so I'm still kind of getting things situated. Usually have a bucket down there with some miscellaneous manuals and different things like that. Keep a backpack with a computer and different stuff. Of course, a sun hat always. There's some extra batteries. Now in this situation, I keep a Yeti ice chest here. I like this. It's small inside, but I can keep ice in there, and that water's freezing cold still, and it's Sunday right now. That's from Friday. Got an apple in there. You know, I bring my lunch as much as possible. As far as back here, you can see I've got some tickets back there. I want to get like a little metal file holder kind of a thing, so that way I can keep all my paperwork, because that's important, invoices and receipts. Guys, this is not like some, you know, Instagram perfect van, okay? This is used. It's dirty. I mean, look at my floors. My floors are dirty, okay? I'm a real person. You know, I'm a slob. When I'm working, I focus on working. This one does have a composite bulkhead. Now, this van, I did not spec out all the options, okay? It did come with pivoting ladder racks. Well, actually, it came with a pivoting ladder rack on this side. I had to add it to the other side where I keep an 8-foot ladder. Altogether, I keep a 26-foot extension ladder here, and then just a standard 8-foot A-frame ladder here. And then I keep a 4-foot step ladder here, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and, oh yeah, what I was talking about a minute ago was I didn't spec out this van. It came with a lot of its racks. I just customized everything, okay? The van came with Adrian steel bin package and refrigerant cylinder package and all that stuff, and then I just heavily modified everything, okay? But we'll get through it all, and you guys will see as we're going through the van. All right, I got my bags out. So these buckets were in my van. They're actually supposed to go to the shop with some glycol from a job, and then just some extra parts when I was cleaning out my van. And this is my little buddy Luke right here, just hanging out with me. So one of my favorite new tools, I've had it for maybe a year now, is the CTXL. This is just an open top bag that you just use as like a catch-all. It's really nice when you're going up onto a roof job and you got a lot of extra materials, you know, loose parts, things like that. Love that bag, and it handles a lot. I put multiple motors in it. I've far exceeded the weight limit, and so far it's holding up good. All right, these are my main bags that I have in my thing. So this one right here is the, what is this called? It's the TPXXL. Now this is literally just my backup bag, and it's actually a little disheveled. There's some parts sitting down in the bottom. I usually keep a meter in here. This right here is used for preliminary troubleshooting when you're going on mall roofs and stuff. Just has just what I need to go up there, check it out, and say, okay, this is going to be a big job. Then I get my main bag, which is the Tech Pack Wheeler. This thing goes with me everywhere. Love this bag. Had it for, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years, maybe longer. I don't know how long, but it, you know, the whole COVID thing could wrench in all my time in my head because it's totally lost, okay? So let's go ahead and open this guy up. But this guy right here, starting on the outside, really important, I keep a headlight right here. Always have a headlight in there. And then right out here, I usually keep some vinyl gloves. Looks like you got a neck scarf for when it's really hot outside. Yeah, lots of good stuff in there. And then we come down into the bag itself. my little impact, and then just my basic tools. This is what I carry with me everywhere, okay? Ratchet wrenches, these are a lifesaver. Narrow jaw crescent wrench or adjustable wrench for power heads. When you're changing the SPORLAN power heads, sometimes it can be kind of tight, so keep that guy in there. That's really nice. And then yeah, just the basic hand tools. Got some Knipex pliers right there. You know, basic, nothing too crazy in here, just a standard tool bag. Let's flip on over. Oh, one thing I really do appreciate about the Vito bag is the little pockets that it has. So I keep all my alligator clips, test leads, different things inside here. And then in here is all my various parts. So it's like kind of becomes a catch-all for stuff. Got some Wagos in there, wire nuts, just miscellaneous stuff that I might use on a job. So we'll flip over to the other side. Now this is the backpack version with the wheels, okay? So one thing I will say about this bag is it is not as comfortable as the normal tech pack. The normal tech pack is a lot more comfortable on the back, and the backpack straps being permanent, it feels a lot better. But I don't use it as a backpack as much. Typically what I do is I will use it as a backpack if I'm going onto a roof. You could just pull the straps out, hook them down to these D-rings, boom, climb up onto the roof, then I'm wheeling it everywhere. Trying to keep it to a minimum, don't have a lot back here, just some miscellaneous wrenches back in here, pipe cutters, things that I don't use all the time, okay? And then typically I don't have any right now, but I typically have some zoom spout oiler in here, keep some nylog back here. You can see I really don't weigh these bags down. You know, I try not to as much as possible, but you certainly could fit a lot more. But there is one flaw in this bag, and I'm going to show you guys right now. All right, on the bottom of the bag, when you extend the little handle, this has like a suitcase handle, okay? I will say it is a little bit difficult to push this when you have gloves on, but you get used to it, okay? Technically, Vito says you're not supposed to lift from this because the only thing really holding it is these little straps. So when you have it down, you know, it's locked in, but you're technically not supposed to lift because it's not load rated lifting off of this. Now, in all fairness and honesty, I lift from it all the time. They, in their installation or in their instruction manuals, they say they have this strap chingus that hooks to these two D-rings, comes over, creates a center point for a pull. I've yet to see that pop up anywhere. I don't even know if they actually sell it. I haven't seen it. It looks like just kind of a bunch of silly stuff, to be honest with you. But I didn't mention I always keep an adjustable service wrench on the outside, some tapes right here. But I'm going to show you the flaw on the bottom. Because it's a rolling bag, they have these little rubber stoppers right here, right? And they protect the bag. And if you notice, mine are worn out because I've been using it. So every time you stop, it kind of slides on those. And look at how they're, I mean, I'm sure you can replace them, but they're not really replaceable because it's a rivet. So I don't know if they really thought about that one too well. And I've yet to see any replacement parts for this. Like, can you just buy these? Because these seem like a consumable, like they're going to go bad really quick. This one's grinding down to the point that it's, I mean, honestly kind of ruining the bag. But I still love the bag, but inevitably I see this right here as being the weak point. So within another year, if I don't get new rubber bushings or whatever those are, I imagine that this is going to rub through the bottom of the bag and then you'll have to replace it. But other than that, that's really my only complaint. And I imagine that if I call Vito, I have not called them yet. I imagine that if I call them, they'll probably send me these things and you just rivet them in, maybe. I don't know. So let's get on to the regular tech pack that I have right here. So this right here is my tech pack. This is for my probes, okay? I keep a large Samsung tablet. Now, I don't encourage everybody to use a large Samsung tablet. I actually use that because it's really convenient for video footage and stuff, but it's not necessarily the most ideal tablet. I would just go with like a standard little 8-inch tablet. So I keep all my JobLink probes in here. It's really nice. I've got all my manometer stuff in here. Open this up, you have, oh, actually no, this is a charger, and then we've got various pockets with all kinds of stuff. Usually there's some batteries up in here. I don't know if they still are, but yeah, there's a few batteries in there. I keep them in there. But yeah, all my probes go in here. I have a full probe setup for a 4 compressor package unit, is how I have it all set up in here. So I try to keep them organized, you know, and somewhat decent, but I also don't baby my tools. I mean, they get beat up, you know. So let's flip over to the other side. This side's not as organized. You can see this one, I need to get a new probe because I actually stuck it in a heat exchanger and then it turned on and it melted the tip of the probe. But I have a bunch of the large pipe clamps, a bunch of other pressure probes, temperature clamps down in there, manometer probes. So this is just kind of my go-to whenever I'm going to probe up on a system for troubleshooting reasons. Now, typically I'm using probes when I'm troubleshooting package units and doing minor repairs on package units. But if I'm doing big repairs, I'm usually going to go ahead and get out my manifold gauge set and use my manifold. Now, to each their own. I'm still kind of old school, so I like doing that. All right, back of the van. What I did, this van has the deleted windows option, right? So I still got the window cages, and I use those to hang stuff. These are just hose hangers from like Home Depot. Honestly, zip ties hold them in perfect. There's no need to go super crazy. I have a bunch of large diameters. So these are 3/8 ID hoses with 1/4 inch connections on them. I use those for recovery, for when I'm speeding up the recovery process. If I'm recovering an ice machine and you want to get a true 3-point recovery, these hoses right here make it all too easy to handle that. Over on this side, just standard extension cord, 3/8 hose in case I'm going to use my evacuation setup on my normal S-man manifolds. Now I have 2 S-man manifolds here. One's actually damaged, but I just use it as a backup manifold, and this one right here is just my standard. So this is the S-man 480 manifold. We'll pull it out. My go-to tool right here, using this all the time. Again, I use this for major repairs. If I'm adding refrigerant to large refrigeration systems, I'll often use this. You can do it with the probes, and I do it occasionally with the probes. I think I've showed it in a video a few times, but I really do gravitate back to this guy. I don't use the vacuum hose very often. You can see my air conditioner just turned on. It's going to happen a lot because that thing short cycles because it's massively oversized. That's a video for another day because we're working on that one. But this one right here, I don't use the vacuum setup very much, but it is nice to be able to have it. Okay, so we're good. One thing I will say that I love about these right here make a great emergency knee pad when you need one. You can see I beat the heck out of these, and I actually have a few of them. So yeah, when they wear out, this is my old manifold set, same manifold set, it's just damaged, but I still use it as just a backup. All right, so up in here is where I keep my MR45 recovery machine. I've got a little job site radio. I've got a spare Captive Air VFD back there because I do a lot of work. And you'll see that I keep a lot of extra parts and materials for the equipment I work on a lot. And then I'll order other stuff. But little job site radio, little flashlight that I use. I'm right in the middle between using Milwaukee and DeWalt. I use them both. They both benefit me very well. So down here, I have my DR82 leak detector. This is my go-to. I also have, you'll notice I have a lot of redundancy in my van. I have another leak detector behind me, but this is my go-to. This is what I use 99% of the time. And then if I'm ever questioning anything, I'll bust out my other leak detector, but this is my true and tested one right here. VPX7 vacuum pump. This is a 10 CFM vacuum pump. It's way too big for almost everything that I do. But the interesting thing is this is the lightest vacuum pump that Fieldpiece makes. So what the heck, why not? It's very rare that I actually need a 10 CFM pump, okay? Most people don't even have the equipment to properly use a 10 CFM pump. But coupled with the True Blue evacuation hoses, which we'll talk about in a minute, you can fully utilize that 10 CFM pump. But again, I don't work on that many systems that need something that big, but the fact that it's their lightest pump, why not have it? Super easy. I use the heck out of that thing, takes a beating, and you know, just keeps on going. So next to that, we've got our Milwaukee kind of tools. This is all my little hand, you know, small tools that I have here. Die grinder, Dremel tool. This guy uses all the time. This is my little blower. Love the heck out of this thing. M18 blower, bunch of various stuff, little cut-off tools and small sawzall. This impact's actually broken. I busted the chuck off inside of it. One of these days I need to drop it off in Milwaukee. But yeah, all my stuff right there. You can see these bungees, they just kind of keep things from falling out in there. I've tried several different methods over the years, and we'll talk about the whole van customization I did too here in a minute. But I've got my Refrigeration Technologies foam guns. Now, a lot of people don't realize, but there is a difference. They've actually revamped the foam gun a couple years ago, and they came out with a new one that is specifically made to work best with the Viper venom packs from Refrigeration Technologies, which are the bags of chemicals that you can get. Super easy, super convenient. They're highly concentrated. So typically out of this bag, you can get 8 gallons of the blue cleaner. So this stuff lasts forever. It kicks butt, but you have to use it properly. And if you use it in this foam gun, you'll get the most efficiency out of that cleaner. Super awesome. Back here just looks like I got an extra bandsaw blade. Down here is typically all my chemicals. Now, something that I have not figured out that I've always wanted is I've always wanted some kind of, and I'm curious for feedback if any of you have ideas. I'd always wanted some kind of a tray, like a plastic tray or something that in case these chemicals were to leak, they wouldn't spill down. And I'll show you a little thing when I was cleaning out my van that I realized is that it looks like at some point I had a chemical spill down. Now it didn't eat the metal away, it just ate the paint off, and I've already cleaned it up. But yeah, I'd like to have something to contain those chemicals. That would be a nice thing eventually someday. But you can just kind of see back in here, I don't use it very often, but I have the Hvacr battery operated, the tiny battery operated vacuum pump. It's just kind of there for emergencies. And then I have my press tool for the Zoom Lock Max fittings that kind of sits in there. I keep it together with that because the Hvacr is compatible with the Milwaukee batteries, and it's actually the same chargers and stuff. So I just kind of keep them together. Now I don't have my jaws in the van right now, but I do have those too. Down here, I use these little areas down here for a lot of different things. I've got brushes, ice machine brushes for cleaning ice machines. Some Milwaukee tools. That's some vacuum parts back there. This is my little, whatever you want to call this, nitrogen refillable kit. It's actually comes in pretty handy sometimes. Yeah, and then that's pretty much it. I have an insulation cutter back there and then just some other various chemicals. So let's flip on over to the other side. So this is a work in progress. This van is not 100% perfect, complete. I've got some extra insulation up top, some more miscellaneous Vito bags. This one right here, probably, oh, this is another backup manifold. This has a Testo manifold in it. MAP gas torch kit right here, extra mega ohm or insulation tester, tap and die set, some solder weld, you know, brazing rods and stuff. This is a pulley puller right here. So I just have some various stuff, some wire stored up here, typically all 12 gauge, and then we have some 18 gauge thermostat wire. You'll notice as we're going through the van, I love having cases, okay? So this is all my small fuses. Man, if you guys have ever bought these little fuses right here, these things are so expensive. They call them midget fuses. That's the term they use, so don't kill me for that one. But these things are so expensive. But anyways, got a bunch of various fuses that I always keep in there. So I like keeping cases because it makes, when you go to get things, a lot easier, you know? So moving down to the next row, this one has a lot of stuff. So this is my extra leak detector. This is the D-Tech Stratus. I'm going to tell you that neck and neck, the DR82 field piece leak detector and the D-Tech Stratus, I swear, are neck and neck. The only thing that this one has that the other one doesn't, in my experience, is the cloud hunting feature, but I'm not a supermarket guy, so I don't walk into fully saturated or refrigerant saturated rooms or anything, so it's not very often that I have to use the cloud hunting feature. But this is a quality leak detector too. I would stand behind this one. I know a lot of people would. I'm also very curious because they make extra sensors to make this work for R290. I would love to get my hands on one of those sensors to be able to try it out so I don't have to have a separate R290 leak detector. Now up in here, of course, got my SPORLAN BQ kit. Always have used this. This right here gets me out of so many jams. It's a great little kit, has everything I need. I can make all kinds of expansion valves if need be. Does everything that I need, tells you how to build them and everything right there. You got all your probes. I keep extra strainers down here, extra nozzles down there. So this right here is something that I can't live without. I love this kit. Yellow jacket ratcheting tubing bender. This is a oil test kit from Refrigeration Technologies. So you can, it's their checkmate kit. So I got that right there. Always keep that down there. Over here is my R290 leak detector. This is not a very high quality leak detector. It does okay, but it's very sensitive. I'd really like to get the tip for the Stratus and see how much better that thing would work than this guy right here. But this guy does the job. You just got to understand how to use it. and get used to it. Right here, I don't know that I've really shown this in videos yet, but I've been using this for a month or two now. This is the Hvacr swaging tool. It's all right. It's not my favorite tool in the world. I feel like there's a lot of places for improvement, but I like the direction that they're going by having tools, power tools that do these jobs instead of us having to manually swage stuff. One thing I wish this guy did was a 1/4 inch swage, but it doesn't. So, hey Luke, what's up, buddy? Luke, hi buddy, what's up? Y'all happy, huh? All right, so we'll put this back and keep on going. This right here is a socket set with a bunch of various sockets. This right here is a insulation tester. Recently started using insulation testers, and they actually are a game changer. I wish I would have used them earlier in my career, but there's limitations to using insulation tests, especially when you're working on compressors. You can get a lot of incorrect readings, or you can mistake them for bad readings when they're not necessarily bad. So be very careful. But I also have a backup insulation tester. So this is a rather expensive Fluke 1587, and it's a great meter. It's a multimeter, does a lot of different stuff. And one day I was at the supply house and they had a Klein one, and this is a Klein ET600 insulation tester. And I gotta say, I mean, so far it's pretty neck and neck for the kind of measurements that I need. Now I'm sure there's higher end scientific measurements that the Fluke can do, but for typical HVAC stuff, this thing is pretty darn accurate and like ridiculously cheaper than this thing. So check it out. A lot of these tools are actually available at TrueTechTools.com. I don't know if they have the Klein insulation tester there or not. I can't remember if I got that from there. But yeah, check out TrueTechTools.com for any of the tools that you're seeing in this video. They have a great selection, and I actually have an affiliate code with them. Big picture, one word, gets you an 8% discount on almost everything. There's a few exceptions at TrueTechTools.com, but when you use that affiliate code, you get an 8% discount, and I get a small commission from that, and it's a great way to help support the channel. So I'm going to put this stuff back together, and we're going to move on. So you can see, again, the bungees do a decent job of holding that stuff in. And, you know, it's just a van. I don't like to put, like, way too much effort into these things because I end up getting a new van every couple of years. So, you know, I just do my best within reason. So down in here, got a couple extra condenser fan motors. Again, these are the ones that I use often on the commercial side, is a 3/4 horse and a 1/2 horse. A couple miscellaneous things. Got my spin swage down here, some drill bits, some impact rated sockets, motors. I keep a pretty good selection of motors in this van. 9721 down here. This is the EC Rescue motors. These are watt motors. Those are great for refrigeration work. Some foam tape. Other motors right here. 1124 is going to be a 115 volt walk-in cooler motor. 1126 is going to be a 208 volt walk-in freezer evaporator or condenser motor. A couple Granger axial fan motors down here. Yeah, all kinds of different tapes back in here, different colored tapes, some roof repair tape. You tend to have some things and you're like, oh, I'll use that again someday, even though that roof repair tape, I've probably only used that once or twice, but it's nice to have it when you need it. Down here, keep some extra refrigerant because we go through it a lot. There's my infamous wands that I use for defrosting evaporator coils. Some extra stock of din rail and some unistrut, just little miscellaneous pieces. Some ice machine brushes down here. This is my rope. Take care of your rope. I clean that thing, keep it nice and organized and rolled up properly. So I try to keep this stuff, you know, in the same spots. A lot of people are getting into my vans when they're working with me, so it's easier when I have everything, you know, in the same spot. So a lot of people know how my van operates and they can come in here and just grab whatever they need. Ice machine curtains for Manitowoc ice machines, or dampers, whatever you want to call them. I got 4 of those down there because we go through those quite often. So this is some R22, some 410. We'll go through the refrigerants now. So as I said, an extra R22, an extra 410, some 404, some more 410. This is 134A, 448A, R22, 407C, 2 recovery cylinders. Looks like that one's got some bad R22 in it, and this one I think is empty. Got a field piece scale back here. Yeah, that's the back of here. I try to utilize as much of this. I keep my ball for when I'm towing right here. Pole sticks back here. You know, just kind of a few things. This is some cardboard, a template for cutting insulation. If you're ever going to cut insulation, there's a little template right there. Keep that back there. Just utilize these little back areas. These little hang-all straps from Home Depot are great little guys. This right here, yeah, I do some weird stuff. This is a custom little sling that I made for lifting up exhaust fans and different things up the side of a building. It's got 4-point straps so you can grab on all corners in some awkward situations. So you can see that everything about this van is slightly modified. Everything's different. I ended up taking these refrigerant cylinders and drilling holes and mounting them where I wanted, and I'll take you to the front of the van and you'll see I moved this as far forward as I could, but we'll get into the custom racks and it'll make sense why I did everything. All right, over here, I've got my oxyacetylene torch kit right here. It's strapped. Everything I try to keep properly strapped as best as possible for DOT, Department of Transportation rules, and California Highway Patrol rules, because we got to be safe in our vans, right? So try to utilize as much space as possible, some hearing protection, cool pressor tool, just some magnets, some D-ring magnets that hold my flashlights up. But yeah, this guy's strapped so that way it won't go up or forward. I keep a caulking gun right here, some extra solder. This is just a impact lanyard for when I'm working up on tall ladders. You can hook your drill to it so that way it just won't boom, slam down and hurt you or pull you down or something. Just has some bungee action to it. Still trying to figure out how I like that, because the first time I used it, it was kind of awkward. You can see I keep a lot of different stuff, extra gloves back here. This becomes kind of a trash can slot back here. Keep some stuff in there. And then we kind of pan over here and you guys get to see my custom parts holder that I made. So what actually happened here was there was an entire shelf right here. So see, this van came with 2 of these identical shelves, and I deleted that shelf. I took all the cross sections out and just used the ends of that shelf. And it's kind of crude, but I keep 1/2 of my water hose up top, the other half of my water hose down below. And then I just took some angle stock right here. This stuff right here, I had some sitting on the side of the van just from Home Depot, and I riveted it in, okay? Use some flat stock right here to give reinforcement, flat stock on the bottom or back to give it reinforcement too. And just kind of made this little custom parts carrier. So this just uses, I don't want to pull that one out. I'll pull this one out. You can see I just got a bungee running across the back, but just aluminum sections right here. Nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy. And I have everything all organized. So this is my electrical fittings for large conduit, and I try to label everything. And you can see that this one has fuses, large refrigerant fittings, electrical fittings, small refrigerant fittings, plumbing fittings, and then we get down into our parts, my most common parts. I do a lot of Delfield refrigerator work, so they got their own case, and I'll open those up and show those to you. So when it comes to, if I'm working on a Delfield refrigerator, I could just open this up and boom, I have a lot of the parts that I might use. Now, I don't do as much Delfield work as my employees do, so they have a lot more of the digital controls, but I have some old mechanical controls, some digital displays, time clocks, starting components, hinge cartridges, dryers. This is an R290 dryer. You know, just try to keep as much of the OEM stuff as possible. I try to use OEM whenever possible. This is ice machine parts. Majority of it's going to be Manitowoc ice machine parts because they do a lot of their work. This right here is USB flash drive for updating the firmware on the Manitowoc ice machines. I've also got some refrigeration parts. This is a hybrid relay for a Hvacr I can just recognize when I see them, or a Trolson. So this is something really interesting. A gentleman many years ago saw me using a drill bit to set the thickness on a Manitowoc ice machine. Forgive me, I do not remember your name. I apologize. I know I've shouted you out before, but I do not remember your name. But this gentleman said, hey, I just randomly got this in the mail. And he goes, I made this for you in my machine shop. He goes, it's the perfect thickness for setting the ice thickness on a Manitowoc ice machine. So what you do is you hold it here, you put this up against the grid, and the thickness probe should barely touch the front of this, and your thickness is perfect. So I thought that was really cool. This gentleman made this for me, sent it to me. It's one of my most used tools, to be honest with you. My employees are like, hey, can I use your thickness setting tool? And I'm like, no, that's for my van. You guys need to use a drill bit or get your own. But yeah, this gentleman made this for me. I thought it was a really smart idea. Works really well. Really, really cool. But yeah, I keep that in here and a bunch of other Manitowoc. Got some, I actually have a Hoshizaki circuit board in here. Dude, I haven't used a Hoshizaki board in so long. Sometimes you buy parts, you think you're going to use them, and then they just sit in there. But yeah, Hoshizaki circuit board. Yeah, a bunch of other miscellaneous Manitowoc parts, thickness sensors, water level probes, all that good stuff that we use often. So it's really nice when you're working on those things. We go through these O-rings quite often when you have water leaks on the Manitowocks. It's usually bad O-rings. Change those out all the time. So I said how I made this shelf right here. This is a toolbox from Harbor Freight. It's actually an end for one of their giant toolbox setups, but you can buy just the end box. And it fits perfectly in here with just enough room to keep my kneeling pads right there. And it's all bolted down. Everything in here is bolted down to the racking in the van. See, like right there, that's one of the racks that came with it. It's bolted down to the back of the van, to the drawer units. This is a custom drawer, or I mean, this is a drawer unit that I ordered. This is bolted to this channel right here. Like everything is bolted down safe, so that way nothing bad, you know, potentially we're trying to prevent anything bad from happening. So this right here is my True Blue evacuation kit. No affiliation with them, but I love this kit. It has a bunch of different core removal tools in it. I have all kinds of different ones in here. Micron gauges, got field piece micron gauge in here. I got everything I need, and this will give you the ability to fully utilize a 10 CFM vacuum pump, because the flow is so big. People don't realize how much your flow is restricted using standard 1/4-inch hoses. It's like less than a CFM. So you buy a 10 CFM pump, you put a manifold gauge set on it, and you might as well be using a 1 CFM pump, because it's just restricted via the hoses. Using something like this when you're doing evacuations, you get the full flow of the vacuum pump, and it kicks butt. So love this. Again, all this stuff is available at TrueTechTools.com if you're interested. Remember, I do have an offer code, like I said earlier, so check it out. So when I mounted this toolbox, I mounted a strut piece right here, just a piece of unistrut. It actually runs all the way to the back, is bolted to here, then it runs over and actually comes all the way back around, and I bolted it down to everything down in there, and it creates a place where I can really strap stuff in. Now I have extra oxygen and acetylene stored back here, so that way I don't run out, or if I do run out, I have spares, right? And everything is ratchet strapped down, okay? Then I have my nitrogen tanks. I have 2 nitrogen tanks right here because I go through nitrogen quite often. I keep my regulator on there, but it's safe. It's not going to fall over. It is strapped in there. It's not going anywhere. Same thing on the backup tank in the back. Keep a grease gun back there. This becomes kind of a miscellaneous parts holder area. Little piston that I pulled out of a tiny reciprocating compressor. I don't know why I keep it, but it's a pretty cool little thing to keep. This is really cool. So this is actually one of my most used tools. That actually came with that little nitrogen tank. Now I don't use that tank as much as I use this, because I just hook it up to my normal nitrogen, and you have a little trigger. Boom, when you're blowing a system out, when you're purging nasty stuff out of a system, this is really nice to be able to just, you know, spray. So that's really cool. Up here, just a couple miscellaneous things, some gloves, safety glasses. I love using the Bomber stuff, of all things, Bomber safety glasses. No affiliation with them, but hey, reach out to me if you guys are from Bomber. That's cool. But yeah, nothing. I use the heck out of their stuff. It's really cool. I use them for my sunglasses too, my standard sunglasses. A couple Manitowoc books, a random piece of stainless steel. Got a Hoshizaki book, solenoid magnet, SPORLAN solenoid magnet right there. Got a straight edge right here for if you're adjusting pulleys, you got a big span. There's a nice aluminum ruler that's pretty straight. This right here is my zip ties. I keep all my zip ties in a little Klein bag, and then that way it's super easy to get to them. There's a crap ton in here, different sizes, various things, the ones with holes, all that good stuff. So that's nice. This area honestly becomes a huge catch-all for me. You know, long days, like you saw when I first started this video, you know, my van was a mess, and that was just a huge catch-all because stuff gets thrown there. I'm not perfect. I try, but my van doesn't always stay clean. So all right, let's get into the toolbox. So got a lot of different stuff in here. This is kind of a big catch-all. This meter is actually supposed to go in that backup bag. Extra drill bits, WEHA torque driver, circuit finder, you know, just pretty much all kinds of miscellaneous stuff. If you guys ever do Hvacr refrigeration work on the older systems, these are custom drain screens. You just bend these tabs down and then they become drain screens. I had my stainless steel shop make these. Keep those in the van. Purging the system with nitrogen. You can see I just got all kinds of miscellaneous wire wheels, different stuff that I keep in there. This again is just a huge catch-all. Kind of this whole toolbox, all my miscellaneous various tools, pliers, These right here, you don't use these very often. These are from Knipix. They are really cool. So if you've ever worked on an electrical box that the wires are cut way too short and it's like really hard to strip that electrical wire, this right here is a wire stripper that you go head on into an electrical box. You can grab a short wire, you can set the depth with this guy right here, spin it and pull it off, and it strips the wire for you when it's really short. Now again, if you've ever run into that situation, you'll want to go buy one of these tools, I guarantee it. If you haven't, you're like, what the heck, that seems kind of silly. But man, just for the one time this thing is used, it makes it worth it. It is an insulated tool too. I'm not really going to use this on high voltage or live voltage, but it's a really nice tool to have in the van. A lot of other miscellaneous stuff, rivet tools, cap tube gauge, tubing benders, UV flashlight. I used to have a UV dye kit because I have used it, like I can count on my hands, I think 4 times in my career, but I still keep the flashlight. I got the dye kit out of the van because that stuff's just stupid. But you ever come across a kit thing that has dye already in it, it doesn't hurt to have a UV flashlight. Pinch off tools for R290 work, filter grabber, extra tubing cutters. I'm all about redundancy. I like having extra tools so that way when you lose something or break something, which is inevitable, you will do it, you have the extras. Aluminum pipe wrenches, fuse pullers, you can see just like everything, tubing cutters, cutoff tools, lollipop gauges for when I'm working on different things. I have a low back here and a high, extra tubing brushes, hammers, just a basic toolbox. This is Allen wrenches, you know, Knipix pliers, more Allens, extra tubing benders. This is all drill bits. I like these little Klein cases. Hammers. I have a right angle rigid drill that I've had for years. Hole saws. This is a, what do you want to call it? Made by JB. It's the Cormax fitting remover tool. So you can pull the Cormaxes out when the system's live and still has refrigerant in it. Again, more miscellaneous stuff. Airbag tools for separating blower motors, flaring tools, oil pump in there. This is the big boy drills. A lot of the DeWalt stuff in here, but this is the 18 volt or 20 volt, whatever stuff you got in there. So that's the toolbox, most of my miscellaneous stuff. And then you have onto your parts stuff. Now this is kind of a disorganized mess. Got thermostats back here, got an economizer, Jade economizer control. Don't use these very often, 3-in-1s. You can see this one has leads on it because I reuse these. I'll use this if I need to try to start a compressor or get a compressor through the weekend. Use a 3-in-1, but I do not like these because they're not original OEM parts and they do some things to the system that I don't like. The main thing that they do is they take the overload that is typically mounted on the shell of the compressor that can sense if the compressor itself gets too hot, because it's a little clicks on, and they move that overload into this, which no longer senses against the compressor. So it's still going to go off on current, but it's not going to go off thermally because of the shell of the compressor getting too hot. So I don't like these for that reason. Also, they typically don't have the right size starting capacitors, but they will get you through a weekend and get you through a bind. Some turbo capacitors. If you didn't already know, Amrad Manufacturing, who makes the turbo run cap, they also make a turbo start cap. So this is a Turbolytic 50. This will make all the way up to, what does it say? Does it say the total start cap that you, total combined? I can't see what it says. Oh, 302 microfarads. So you can do a start cap up to 302 microfarads. And then you have the standard turbo run cap. Bunch of miscellaneous parts. This right here is service valves, rotolock gaskets, that kind of stuff. Extra power heads. Those are just overstock. Down in here, temperature controllers. Looks like I got a bunch of beacon sensors or Intelligen, that kind of stuff. KE2 controller. This is a KE2 controller. I have extra sensors for that. Ronco controllers, defrost time clocks, Heatcraft fan delay defrost termination switches, extra power cords, run caps, 3-phase switches. Got a little bit of everything in there. Go down here, contactors. You guys watch my channel long enough, you'll know that I'll go through these things really quick. Pressure controls. There's going to be a high pressure, a fan cycle, a dual pressure, twist timers, motor starters for exhaust fans, encapsulated pressure controls. Down in here, this my SPORLAN box. It's got dryers, a box. What I do, this has got a bunch of solenoid valves in it. I just consolidate a bunch of them into one box. Power heads, sight glass filter dryer, or sight glass flare dryers, so male, female. I love using those. Got some Zoom Lock push connect refrigerant fittings. Hadn't had an opportunity to use those yet, but I do have them in the van. Hose clamps, extra power head, sensing bulb straps. Over here kind of becomes miscellaneous. This is for a job. I need that nut. This is one of my favorite tools right here. I made this, just hooks onto your hose. It's for blowing drains out when you're working on reaching coolers and stuff, and you can see you just bend the heck out of it, push it down into a drain, walk-in cooler drains, different stuff like that. Got a sensing, whatever you want to call it, for a smoke detector right there. All right, so you kind of see how everything goes together in here. The van has LED lights from the factory. I don't really have to mess with that too much. And I kind of already showed the front of the van. Nothing too crazy. This van has about, I think, 13,000 miles on it. It's a couple months old. Keeps me going along. I already talked about it a little bit, but I really do like this Yeti cooler. This thing is awesome because it saves me a bunch of money. I can bring my lunch. I keep sweaters behind there. I keep battery chargers down here, always ready to go. That way if I have to charge batteries, I just grab them out of here. And that is pretty much it. That is my van. It's nothing spectacular. It's just a normal van. Maybe you guys get some ideas from it. Maybe you get some ideas of what not to do from it. One thing I will say is everything is tied down. I really do like that. These Home Depot carry-all straps or whatever, you know, they hold everything in place, so this thing's not going to go sliding off on me. You know, everything has a nice secured spot. It's strapped down as best as possible, you know, in hopes that if there is a problem, the damage wouldn't be too bad, right? Always making sure that these bolts and stuff are nice and tight. For the most part, my van doesn't make a lot of noise. The most noise that comes from my van is actually going to be from these refrigerant cylinders right here. That's the only thing, and I need to come up with a solution for that because that is a bit annoying. Granted, I do have the composite bulkhead, so it does kind of keep the noise down, but still, when you're driving, that's a bit annoying. But you can see, because I did those custom shelves and everything, I had to move this stuff back as far as I could. This is my layout. This is my third van with an iteration of this layout. The first one, I think I only had a 2-stack drawer unit right there. And then each time I change something up, make it a little bit more, you know, tailored to what I do. Future ideas for the van is to have a battery charging station at some point. Some kind of battery charging station. I don't know where. I don't know if it would just be like something that I built right here, so that way you can keep battery charging. I go back and forth on whether or not I want to get a power inverter on the van. Now, it does have the standard inverter that comes with the van, but I've thought about getting an aftermarket one. I've had them in the past, but I need to have it wired in by a stereo shop, because in the past I wired mine in and I would kill the battery all the time because it would be wired in hot and I would forget to turn it off. But I would like to get a power inverter in here to have a battery charging station. And that's, I mean, really, you know, that holder back behind here for my papers would be nice. I want to get that. And that's pretty much it. You know, there's not really much more that I want to change about this van. One thing I will say is a lot of this stuff, like I made this stuff just with Home Depot parts. This right here is from Harbor Freight. This is from one of the van magazines. I can't remember which one, but it's just one of the van magazines. You could find them everywhere, but everything is bolted in. I would like to have one that's taller, because I would like to have one more drawer set, but you know, that's not practical because then my nitrogen tanks wouldn't fit anymore. Everything's going to change too when we've got the new refrigerant standards coming out, where they're going to make you have reusable refrigerant cylinders, because they're all going to be long and tall now. So that's something we're going to have to get used to, and we may have to change things up. But like I said, each time I do one of these vans, I try to change something up just a little bit, make it a little more efficient. I'm open to ideas. If y'all have ideas, ways that I can make this flow better and work better, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out and ask them. Remember, a majority of the stuff in this van I purchased from TrueTechTools.com. Again, my offer code's big picture, one word. You get a small discount on majority of the items. I get a small commission when you use that offer code. So it's a great way to help support the channel. But yeah, I'll catch you on the next one, okay?